And what we do is a television show in Michigan called Revolution Against Evolution. And our intent is to answer the tough questions concerning science and the Bible. And Rich moved next door to me in 1966, and we've been friends ever since. And we've described in previous seminars a little bit about my testimony and his testimony. And just recently, in 2008, we published this book right here. This book is called Persuaded by the Evidence. This is true stories of faith, science, and the power of Creator. And before that, I had another book published. This book is called Revolution Against Evolution, which is the same name as our TV show and our website. Our website is www.rae.org. I had the privilege of meeting a fellow a while back. His name was Dr. David DeWitt. But he told me a story that he had, someone gave him a copy of this book, Revolution Against Evolution, when he was a freshman in college. And as a result, he became a creationist, and he's gone on to do cancer research, and he wrote this book, Unraveling the Origins Mystery. So I just happened to see that on the book table over there, and I picked up a copy. I didn't know he wrote a book. But praise the Lord anyway. He came to our church one time and looked me up and told me thank you for the book. This book is sort of an introduction to the creation evolution origins issue. It was written in 1993, so it's sort of like a snapshot of what the creationist thinking was about that time. And I was sort of surprised as how well some of the arguments have held up. There's some things we're planning to revise this book online on the web and just update a lot of the things that are, we just got so much more information that has accumulated since then. And we've been privileged to be able to interview a lot of the prominent creationists in the world during our 20-year cycle of producing television shows and learning about creation. We've done, I think the last show was number 515. So we've been at it a little while, and Rich became my brother-in-law. He married my sister, and we've been together for all this time studying creation, and God has really blessed us in many ways through this. In 2005, we had the privilege of coming here to South Africa, and so this is our second time here. And Rich works for actually similar. We work in two buildings in downtown Lansing, Michigan. He works for the Michigan Historical Museum, and he does all the artwork, all the dioramas, all the things that the museum artist does. And I work for the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, and I develop computer programs for the DNR. And so I really enjoy that type of work, and so we have been working together not only in our secular jobs, but we've also been able to do ministry together. Now, I want to show you something. I got a little prop here. This is a hat that I wear when I go to the state parks when in the state of Michigan. They let me in because I've been wearing this DNR hat. And this DNR hat is what the state park managers wear. Would anyone like this hat? Raise your hand. Who would like that hat? All right, great.
That's nice.
So pay attention. If you fall asleep, you might miss an opportunity here. Last time we were here, we had the privilege of going to Kruger Park with Henny Moten and his lovely wife Allison and Koos van der Westhuizen, and you're going to hear from them from Koos a little bit later. But when we went there, they conspired to tell us a little story, and we found out that these impala that we were seeing we were actually very privileged to see them because they were so rare. They only come out at night. What ended up happening is that we were preparing this wonderful documentary on the rare impalas, and we were taking all these photographs of impalas. So I got the whole library of impalas.
After the fourth herd.
After our fourth herd of about 50 impalas, we sort of figured out that they were pulling our leg. I don't know who was actually came up with this conspiracy, but I would imagine that his name rhymes with puss. And then they were telling us how privileged we were to see the wild dog. I said, dogs. We have all kinds of dogs in Michigan. Why are they so rare? And so this is the picture that we ended up with. One picture we have of the wild dog. I did manage to get him on video. I went, woo, woo, and he looked all around like this, and then popped up and popped down. But that's all the wild dog. However, on this trip, we did go to the Lion and Rhino Park, and there was a wild dog running around free where I could photograph him very nicely. So we've had a wonderful time here in South Africa. They got us on an elephant and riding an elephant and doing all sorts of wonderful things here that we can't do in Michigan. It isn't every time that you can come up and hug the elephant's trunk and do things of that sort. So we were really glad to be here, and this is what my topic is today. The flood of Noah, what happened to the water. That was the title that Belka gave me, but I have a different title. It's Don't Let Our Geology Mess Up Your Theology. And so what I'm going to do is explain a little bit about geology. This is, my interest started out in chemistry. I have a large chemistry background with, such as what Dr. Bergman has. And Dr. Jerry Bergman and I have been friends for over 25 years, I believe. But when I was in college, after taking all these credits in chemistry, I asked myself, do I really want to spend the rest of my life in a smelly laboratory? And I looked around trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I added some geology credits, some physics, some astronomy, some biology, and so I sort of went down the generalist path and ended up with a degree in physical science. And then I got bit by the computer bug, got interested in the Department of Natural Resources. After a number of years, I did finally get a job with them, and I'm doing what I've always wanted to do, I guess. And so I do computer programs to help these people do their research and manage their resources in my department. Take a look at the Grand Canyon, and you can see in the Grand Canyon here layers that are flat, and there's nothing in between them. and it looked like they had been laid down by water action in a rapid manner. And then the fact that this is so high up in elevation, this is about 8,000 feet in elevation, how did all this water carve this canyon like this in such a manner? It's very difficult for me to conceive this outside of a flood model. Of course, evolutionists would want you to believe that there was an antecedent river that ran through there, a little, you know, the Colorado River was running through it, and then as there was uplift coming up in the Colorado Plateau, so all these mountains uplifted around as the Colorado River was eroding it away. And, you know, I just can't imagine how that would work very well. There's other theories, like the antecedent river theory, that would there would be a way that it would a river would tunnel up through an area, and then it would breach a dam that was of a lake behind it, and the dam breach would catastrophically carve this canyon. And a lot of the geologists are now considering catastrophic mechanisms for the formation of canyons. Now, we'll go back to Charles Darwin and what happened to him when he was considering his work. He actually was a theologian. That's what he went to school in Cambridge to do, is to become a country parson. And then he went on this voyage on the Beagle, where he got a lot of his ideas. But he was an admirer, first of all, of the work of William Paley. And this was Paley's Watchmaker book here that he thought was pretty good. But when he was on the Beagle, he met the captain of the boat, gave him this book, Principles of Geology by Charles Lyell. And Darwin studied this on the Beagle voyage, and this is one of the things that started turning him away from his theology ideas and turned him more towards the atheistic ideas. Because this Charles Lyell was one of the first people to consider an older earth theology, and these ideas conflicted with the theistic ideas that the Bible pronounced. Now, if you talk with Jerry Berman and read his book, The Dark Side of Darwin, there were a lot of other things that were going on in his life. He really wasn't that good of a student, and he got kicked out of medical college, and so he, finally he got his degree in theology. Now, here are the problems that we need to take a look at. Sedimentary rock covers the continents by an average of 1.5 miles. Philosophical naturalism demands that these layers are laid down slowly. But the catastrophic stratigraphy predicts that they were laid down rapidly. So these are the questions that we need to ask. How can we tell whether they were laid down rapidly, the canyons, all the geologic features were created rapidly or slowly? Here is an evolutionary representation of what they call the geologic time scale, or the geologic column. What they have is, down the bottom is the Precambrian rock, which is supposed to be before life evolved. Then there's the Cambrian rock. This is where there's just been an explosion of fossils found in this layer. an Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian, Mississippian, Pennsylvanian, and they call us these two Carboniferous, Permian, Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous. These are supposed to be the age of the dinosaurs. And then Tertiary, Quaternary, which is more recent. And so keep these layers in mind. We're sort of using these layers in our description from a creationist point of view, so we can relate to what the evolutionist is trying to talk about. And these layers, this time scale is built by correlation. And here's a quote by Leighton Judson. Because we cannot find sedimentary rocks representing all the Earth time neatly in one convenient area, we must piece together the rock sequence from locality to locality. This process of tying one rock sequence to one place to another is, in some other places, known as correlation. So they're saying and admitting that they don't really find this in the rocks. And so the end product of the correlation is a mental abstraction called the geologic column. But and then I'm going to talk about uniformitarianism. If you take a look at this place in Monument Valley in the border of Arizona and Utah, you see two what they call monadnocks, or buttes, where this top layer of the butte is harder than the layer underneath it. And so these little sections of rock remain after everything else underneath it is eroded. To me, this is a bigger problem to explain than the Grand Canyon. You're talking about a tremendous amount of erosion here. If you go north of these two buttes, these are called the mittens in the Monument Valley, you encounter a large layer of this sandstone right here that and it covers a vast area, but this whole valley in Monument Valley is carved out, and it's a beautiful area. But we call this uninformitarianism as creationists, because what you want to do is predict the past, what happened in the past based upon what happens in the present. Now I have a little illustration of that. This restaurant is near my house, and what I would challenge an evolutionist to do is to go to this restaurant and find some, get out a shovel and dig in the pavement, and dig up some of the pavement, look underneath, and tell me what this place looked like 100 years ago. And so the question would be, well, how would you know, based upon what you find in the present here, what it looked like in the past? Well, this happened to be built on my family's ancestral farm. And my parents and grandparents and great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents farmed this land. And so because I have some other records that were nobody else has, I can tell you what that place looked like 100 years ago. And it looked like this. This is my great-great-grandmother with her two sons. One is my great-grandfather and his brother, half-brother. And they farmed this land 100 years ago. But if you go back to this place right now, based upon what you find in the present, it is difficult to predict what you might find in the past based upon, you see, Ken Ham likes to say this. He says that if you are looking for evidence, and in the fossils are what you find in the present. You don't find them in the past. And he asks, well, when did fossils exist? Well, some people say they existed in the past, but they're found in the present. And so, based upon that, it cannot be denied that the geologists are here arguing in the circle. The succession of organisms have been determined by the study of the remains embedded in the rocks. A rock that has had an early form of an organism was clearly older than the rocks containing later forms. Furthermore, all the rocks that had the early form, no matter how far apart those rocks were geographically, would have to be the same age. Now here's the problem. What we find in the geologic column is mostly skewed. They find mostly vertebrates up here from the Cretaceous away down here to the Silurian or Ordovician, early bony fish. But what you actually find in the fossil record is mostly in marine invertebrates. In other words, clams. 95% of what you find in the rock layers are clams or shellfish. Then the next 4.5% of what you find is plants and algae. And then 0.0125% is you find the vertebrates. Mostly of that is fish. And so what we find in the fossil record really corresponds with what we would expect to find from the worldwide flood of Noah. And people before Lyell believed this, like Steno believed this in the universal flood throughout his life, and they wrote about it. And what happened was that there's actually political reasons for why people wanted to, during the time of the late 1700s, early 1800s, they wanted to actually get rid of the divine right of kings. And so one of the ways to discredit this is to discredit the Bible, because they thought that the Bible they used the Bible to prove that kings had the right to rule. And so there were a lot of political reasons why they wanted to have an atheistic or materialistic worldview. Here's a test. Do we find topsy-turvy fossils? Stephen M. Stanley on Johns Hopkins University said it would disprove evolution if any topsy-turvy sequence of fossils are found. That would force us to rethink our theory. What we'll define here is topsy fossils. They're ones that are supposed to be down in the bottom, but they're found up. And here's an example. We had the privilege of Carl Baugh at the Creation Evidence Museum showing us these rare fossils. The Meister print is an example of where you find a trilobite in the same layer as sandalbrines. And we examined this, and you can actually see the stitching in the sandal. It was a moccasin of some sort, but this person here was crushing trilobites. And trilobites are supposed to be only found in the Cambrian era. Here's the trilobite here, and the Cambrian era is the place where life was supposed to be evolved. Then we have turvy fossils, and they're supposed to be up, but they're found down. Here's an example of a fossil of that sort. This is what's called the Willet track, and it's a human footprint, but it's found in Cretaceous strata at the Biloxi River in Glen Rose, Texas. This part here is the print of a Dimorphodon. There's actually a hallux spur imprint right back here. And it's a flying reptile. And it made a print on top of the, well, no, I think in this particular case, this print was made first, and then this print was on top of it.